Welcome to this podcast episode brought to you by AGS Agriculture Global Solutions, your partner for better oil palm farming. Today we continue our series that we call NPK School, and today's episode is about use of silica fertilizers in oil palm. We are going to explore how turning your farm waste into a natural silica shield can protect your trees from deadly fungus and save you serious money on expensive chemical fertilizers. Register now on cropdrive.ai. Use the tool completely free of charge, no hidden fees, no conditions. CropDrive helps you improve your oil palm growing skills. Subscribe to our channel so you do not miss key oil palm best practice episodes. So, to get right into this deep dive, I want to talk about the reality of walking your farm right now.
Right, yeah.
Because if you are out there, checking the canopy, looking at the base of your trunks, you are probably balancing a pretty heavy mental load.
Oh, absolutely. It's constant.
It is. You're constantly looking for threats. And I mean, the absolute nightmare scenario for any smallholder is seeing those lower fronds start to just droop.
Yeah, turning that sickly yellow color.
Exactly, turning yellow. And you see those unopened spears accumulating. Because you know what that means. You know it's happening out of sight down in the soil.
It's a terrible feeling because once you see those visual symptoms up top, well, the biological attack underground is already way past the starting line.
It's already entrenched.
Right. You were usually dealing with basal stem rot, which is driven by the Ganoderma fungus, and it's just aggressive.
It's stubborn.
Yeah, stubborn, and it just slowly destroys the internal plumbing of the palm tree.
And the worst part is, while you are worrying about this, invisible biological threat, you're also doing mental math in your head.
Always.
The fertilizer math.
The fertilizer math. Because the cost of commercial nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, that NPK, it's just skyrocketing.
It's non-negotiable. You need NPK if you want to see decent fruit bunches.
Right. But the prices at the supplier just keep going up, squeezing every last drop of profit out of your harvest.
That's the daily tension, really. Buying enough NPK to maintain your yields while just desperately hoping that some soil-borne disease doesn't just, wipe out the very trees you're paying so much to feed.
It feels like being stuck between a rock and a hard place.
It really does.
Which is honestly why I'm so eager to dig into the stack of research we brought for this deep dive.
We have some really fascinating stuff today.
We do. We are looking at some very recent agricultural science, specifically studies out of Thailand from 2022, Indonesia from 2018 and 2023, and a really fresh one from Malaysia in 2025.
And when you synthesize all of this data, a very clear, very practical strategy emerges for you.
And it revolves around something completely mundane, right?
Completely. Something that's just sitting on the ground of almost every farm.
Silica.
Right, silica. It's the fascinating subject in agronomy right now because, well, for a very long time it was kind of ignored.
Why was that?
Well, silica is the second most abundant element in the Earth's crust. It's basically the main component of sand and clay. So historically, the thinking was, why on earth would we ever need to add silica to the dirt when the dirt is basically made of silica?
See, I'm going to stop you right there because that is exactly what I would be asking if I were listening.
It's the logical question.
Yeah, I mean, if my farm is sitting on millions of tons of silica, why are my palm trees struggling? Why isn't the soil just naturally fixing this?
So the crucial distinction here is between inert silica and plant-available silica.
Okay, break that down for us.
Sure. Yes, there is a mountain of silica in your soil, but it's locked up. It's in these hard mineral crystals.
Like actual grains of sand.
Exactly. And a palm tree's roots, they can't absorb solid grain of sand. They don't have teeth.
Right, they can only drink liquids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They need the silica to be in a very specific soluble form. It's called silicic acid. That's the only way they can actually draw it up into their root system.
And I'm guessing that soluble form isn't just lying around everywhere.
Not anymore, no. In heavily farmed tropical soils that just get pounded by heavy rain year in and year out, that naturally available soluble silica has often been completely washed away.
Or just used up by previous harvests.
Exactly. It's depleted.
So the trees are basically starving for it, even though they're completely surrounded by the inert version of it.
You hit the nail on the head.
That sets the stage perfectly. So let's look at the actual mechanism here. What happens when a palm tree finally gets a usable drink of this silica?
Well, this is where we look at what the scientists in the Thai and Malaysian studies actually did.
Right, the nursery studies. What did they do to measure this?
They basically set up an extreme biological stress test.
Okay.
In a controlled nursery, they took these young, really healthy 3-month-old oil palm seedlings and they divided them up.
So a classic experiment setup.
Yeah. One group was just raised normally, relying only on, whatever trace silica happened to be in the standard potting mix.
And the other group.
The other groups received targeted applications of actual plant-available silica fertilizer.
Okay, so we have untreated seedlings and we have silica-treated seedlings.
Correct. So they nurtured them, let them absorb the treatments, and then they introduced the threat.
This is the crazy part.
It is. The scientists brought in blocks of rubber wood that were just heavily colonized by the Ganoderma fungus.
Oh, wow.
And they buried these highly infectious wooden blocks directly in the soil, right up against the roots of these young palm trees.
I mean, that is essentially biological warfare on a plant. You are forcing the infection onto it.
They had to. They needed to guarantee maximum exposure to see if the silica actually provided a defense under the absolute worst possible conditions.
So it's not just a casual, oh, maybe it'll catch the fungus. It's a direct attack.
A direct, intentional attack.
Yeah.
And they monitored these palms over a 10-month period to see exactly how the disease would progress.
And looking at the data from that 10-month mark, it is just staggering.
It really is.
Because I'm looking at the numbers right now, and the untreated palms, the control group, they suffered an infection rate of over 94%.
Almost total devastation. The Ganoderma completely overran them.
But explain what happened to the group that drank the silica.
The results were definitive. The seedlings that were treated with silica saw the incidence of basal stem rot cut by more than 50% compared to the control group.
That's huge. More than half the trees just fought off a direct fungal attack.
Yes, and it gets better. When the researchers pulled up and examined the surviving treated plants, the root systems were noticeably heavier.
Like denser.
Denser, healthier.
Yeah.
And above ground, the leaves were vastly thicker and a much deeper shade of green.
Which indicates what? More chlorophyll.
Exactly. A massive increase in chlorophyll production. They were absorbing much more sunlight.
Okay, so mechanically, how is this happening? I want to make sure we avoid reading a biology textbook here, but we really need to understand the how.
I can keep it simple.
Please do. Because when a fungus like Ganoderma attacks a tree, it doesn't just, take a bite out of it, right?
Right. It secretes chemical enzymes. Those enzymes basically melt the plant's root tissues so the fungus can just absorb the nutrients.
Gross, but effective. So
Yeah.
how does silica stop that melting process?
Okay, so when the oil palm's roots drink up that soluble silica, they transport it directly into the outer cell walls of their root tissue.
Okay.
And as the moisture evaporates, that silica polymerizes.
Meaning it hardens.
Exactly. It turns into this microscopic, almost glass-like gel that is embedded directly inside the plant's own skin.
So it is quite literally building a coat of armor.
A physical structural barrier, yes.
That's amazing.
So when the Ganoderma fungus arrives at the root and tries to secrete those melting enzymes, well, the enzymes are totally useless.
Because they can't melt glass.
Precisely. They cannot melt through this hardened silica matrix. The fungus is basically trying to chew its way through a glass wall.
And it just starves.
It starves or gives up before it can actually penetrate the root.
Okay, I am thoroughly convinced. I want that microscopic glass armor on every single root in my plantation tomorrow.
Right. Who wouldn't?
But, and here is the elephant in the room, earlier we talked about the crushing cost of NPK fertilizer.
Yes, the budget issue.
If I go down to the agricultural supply store right now and look for highly soluble commercial liquid silica, it is incredibly expensive.
It is a premium product.
Right. So suggesting that a smallholder farmer just add another expensive chemical product to their monthly budget, I mean, that's almost insulting.
Oh, it would completely defeat the goal of improving your profit margins.
Exactly.
But this is where our deep dive narrative really shifts from, fascinating biology to practical economics.
This is the good part.
Yes. We turn to the 2018 Indonesian study.
Yeah.
Because those researchers focused entirely on finding a way to bypass the agricultural supply store completely.
They were looking for a loophole.
A local, abundant, completely free source of silica.
And they actually found it, sitting right there on the farm.
They found it in the empty fruit bunches.
The EFB.
Exactly, the EFB.
Which is wild to me. Empty fruit bunches are just the fibrous waste left over after you harvest your fruit, and the mill extracts the oil.
Yeah, usually these just sit in massive rotting piles. People think of them as trash.
But think about what an empty fruit bunch actually is.
Right, biologically speaking.
Because for years, that palm tree has been acting like a giant pump, right?
Exactly. Pulling whatever trace silica it can find out of the deep soil.
And moving it all the way up the trunk.
And storing large amounts of it right in the structural fibers of the fruit bunches themselves.
That is just a huge light bulb moment for me. The tree already did the hard work.
It mined the silica from the deep soil and wrapped it up in a package for us.
But obviously there's a catch. I can't just toss a giant spiky whole fruit bunch next to my tree and expect the roots to, suck the silica out of it.
No, you can't. The silica is locked tight inside that tough wood.
So how do we get it out?
This is why the Indonesian researchers detailed a very specific but really simple 4-week composting process.
4 weeks? Okay.
The goal here is to rapidly break down those tough fibers so the trapped silica converts back into that soluble form that the roots can actually drink.
Okay, walk us through the mechanics of this 4-week process. Say I'm a farmer, I have a mountain of EFB, and I want free silica. What is my very first physical step?
Your first step is mechanical reduction. You must chop those empty fruit bunches into small chunks.
Oh boy.
The agricultural science dictates an ideal length of about 2.5 to 5 centimeters.
That sounds like a whole lot of machete work. Why is 2.5 to 5 centimeters the magic number? I mean, why can't I just hack them in half and be done with it?
It all comes down to surface area.
Okay.
Composting is done by microscopic bacteria and fungi. If you leave the bunch whole or in big chunks, the microbes can only eat the outside layer.
Because they can't get inside.
Exactly. It would take a year to break down that way.
Yeah.
But by chopping the material into 5-centimeter pieces, you are opening up millions of microscopic wounds in the fiber.
You're giving them more places to eat.
You are creating a massive surface area for the microbes to attack all at once.
Okay, that makes sense. So I have done the hard work. I chopped the EFB into tiny chunks. It is sitting in a pile. What do I add to it?
Now you need to introduce a natural compost starter, specifically a biodecomposer.
A biodecomposer. Are those expensive?
Not at all. You can get them very cheaply, or often you can even make them yourself using local agricultural extension recipes.
Oh, that's great. What actually is it, though?
It's essentially a concentrated liquid cocktail of really aggressive wood-eating microbes.
Got it. So I take this microbe liquid.
And you mix it thoroughly into your pile of chopped DFB.
I imagine this acts like a catalyst. Like you are dropping a massive army of hungry workers directly onto all that fresh surface area you just made with the machete.
Precisely. And once you mix it in, you just let the pile sit.
Just wait.
Yeah. And because you prepared the material so well, the microbes will multiply furiously. The pile will averagely generate a pretty significant amount of heat as they work.
That's how you know it's working.
Right. And in exactly 4 weeks, those tough, rigid fibers will just collapse.
What does it look like when it's done?
You will be left with this dark, crumbly, really rich-smelling compost.
And the silica.
Most importantly, the silica that was trapped inside the wood is now highly soluble and completely ready to be absorbed by your trees.
That is incredible. So, with a bit of manual labor and 4 weeks of waiting, I have literally manufactured my own premium plant armor.
You have.
For free. But I want to tie this back to the wallet.
Okay.
Because we talked about how this protects the tree from basal stem rot, which obviously saves your investment long term.
Right.
But how does this homemade compost change my short-term financial situation, like down at the fertilizer shop?
Well, the researchers in that 2018 study didn't just make the compost in a lab. They actually took it out to the field to test it.
What did they do?
They applied 500 kilograms of this homemade EFB compost per hectare per year to active oil palm plots.
Okay, let's contextualize that math for the listener for a second. Because 500 kilograms sounds like a lot.
It does, but break it down.
Right. A typical hectare holds roughly 130 to 140 palm trees. So 500 kilograms per hectare divides out to only about 3.5 to 4 kilograms of this compost per tree.
Exactly. Applied to the base once a year.
That is incredibly manageable. You can carry that in a bucket.
It is very manageable, and the financial payoff is immense.
Hit me with the numbers.
By integrating this silica-rich compost into the soil around the palms, the scientists determined that farmers could safely reduce their application of commercial chemical NPK fertilizer by 25%.
Wait. Hold on. You were saying that instead of buying 4 bags of expensive NPK, I only need to buy 3.
Yes.
I just keep the cash for that 4th bag right in my pocket.
Yes, a 25% immediate reduction in your absolute most expensive operating cost.
Okay. My immediate fear, and I guarantee every farmer listening to this shares this exact fear, is that if I starve my trees of 25% of their primary food, my fruit yield is going to plummet.
It's the natural conclusion to draw.
Right. The bunches will be smaller, the oil extraction rate will drop, and the money I saved on fertilizer will just be lost when I get to the weighbridge.
It's a totally logical fear, but it completely ignores the mechanics of how roots actually work.
Okay, enlighten me.
The data showed the exact opposite. Even with 25% less chemical NPK applied to the soil, the oil palms produced a noticeably higher fruit yield.
That seems to defy the laws of physics. How do you put less fuel in the tank and drive further?
Because your tank used to have a massive leak.
A leak.
We had to look at the efficiency of the root system itself. When an oil palm does not have that silica armor, its roots are constantly under siege.
From the Ganoderma.
From Ganoderma. But even if it's not a lethal attack, the roots are constantly fighting off minor soil pathogens, microscopic nematodes, and just general environmental stress.
So they are just exhausted all the time.
They are exhausted and they are physically damaged.
And what does a damaged root system look like?
Well, a damaged root system has very few of those fine, white, fuzzy root hairs. And those little hairs are actually responsible for drinking in the water and the dissolved nutrients.
Oh, I see.
So historically, you were pouring 100% of your expensive chemical NPK onto the dirt, but your stressed, damaged roots were only capable of absorbing a fraction of it.
Because the little root hairs were missing.
Exactly. The rest of that expensive fertilizer was just washing away into the groundwater. You were paying for food that the tree could not physically eat.
Wow. Okay, I see the connection now. By applying the 4 kilograms of silica compost to the tree, we build the armor.
Right.
The roots stop sustaining damage. They have time to heal.
They grow thick, they expand, and they produce millions of new, healthy root hairs.
The tank is fixed.
Exactly. The root system becomes this super absorber.
So when you apply just 75% of your normal chemical NPK, that massive, healthy root network captures almost all of it.
You've got it. The tree is actually taking more absolute nutrients into its trunk than it ever did before, simply because nothing is being wasted in the soil.
We are fixing the plumbing before we turn on the tap. It is brilliant.
It really is.
However, there is a catch.
There is always a catch in agriculture.
Always. I understand how to make the compost, and I understand the financial mechanism of how it saves me money. But the 2023 Indonesian study suggests that many farmers are unknowingly sabotaging this entire process through their daily farm habits.
Yes. This is a really critical point about soil management.
What are they doing wrong?
Well, you could do all the machete work, brew the perfect compost, and apply it to your trees. But if you treat your soil poorly, that valuable silica will literally vanish before the tree can drink it.
Because of the rain?
Yes. The 2023 study measured the devastating effects of soil erosion, specifically tied to a practice called clean weeding.
Okay, clean weeding. Let's define that. This is when a farmer takes a hoe, or maybe sprays heavy herbicides, and completely strips all the weeds and grass from the walking paths and the spaces between the trees.
Right, they scrape it completely down to the bare dirt.
And we need to acknowledge why farmers do this, right? It's not out of malice.
No. A clean, bare floor makes it much easier to spot loose fruits that have dropped during harvest.
It removes hiding places for venomous snakes, which is a very real concern.
Exactly. To many, a farm with bare dirt simply looks organized. It looks well managed.
It looks like you put effort into your property, but biologically, what is actually happening to that bare dirt when the tropical rains hit?
It is catastrophic.
Really?
The scientists placed measuring traps at the bottom of these clean weeded slopes. They found that a farm with perfectly bare, swept soil loses an average of 4 to 6 tons of topsoil per hectare every single year, just to rain runoff.
4 to 6 tons of soil washing away.
Every year. And here's the metric that should make you reconsider the hoe.
What is it?
Along with that dirt, the runoff carries away 5 to 9 kilograms of naturally available soluble silica per hectare per year.
That is brutal. You are literally watching the armor for your palm trees dissolve in the rain and flow down into the local river.
While you are trying so hard to add more back in.
So we need actionable protocols. If sweeping the dirt is destroying the farm's wealth, what are the daily steps you should take to keep the silica in the ground?
The agronomic science gives us a very clear 3-step management plan.
Okay, step 1.
Step 1. Transition away from bare earth. You must allow a low, soft cover of native grasses or legume cover crops to grow in the interrows.
Which are the spaces between the palm trees.
Yes.
Just to be clear, we're not saying let the farm turn into an overgrown jungle where you can't walk.
No, keep it slashed low, like ankle height. But leave the roots of that grass intact.
Why are the grass roots so important?
Because those millions of tiny grass roots act as a living net. They anchor the topsoil in place, they absorb the impact of the heavy raindrops, and they trap the silica before it can wash down the hill.
A messy floor is a wealthy floor. I like that. I think that requires a major psychological shift for a lot of growers, but the math is undeniable.
It really is.
What is step 2?
Step 2 is about placement. We call it stacking smart.
Stacking smart.
Yes. When you are doing your routine pruning, or when you have excess empty fruit bunches that you just haven't chopped up for the 4-week compost yet, do not just toss them randomly into the walking paths.
Where should they go?
Stack those fronds and unchopped bunches directly over the root zones.
Okay, like under the canopy.
Right, perhaps in U-shapes below the tree on sloped land. As they slowly decay over the next year or two, they will continuously drip feed organic matter and slow release silica right into the soil.
Oh, and they act as a physical mulch too, right? That blocks the rain from hitting the dirt directly.
Exactly. It's like putting a blanket over the soil.
That makes a lot of sense. You are basically using your larger farm waste as an umbrella for your soil. So what's step 3?
Step 3 concerns the premium 4-week silica compost we manufactured earlier.
Right, the good stuff.
You must protect the palm circle.
The palm circle is the weeded ring directly around the base of the trunk.
Correct. This is where the highest concentration of active feeding root hairs live. You apply your 3.5 to 4 kilograms of compost directly onto this circle.
So don't spread it out in the inner rows?
No, don't waste it out there. Put it right on the feeding zone. That way those roots can rapidly uptake the silicic acid and build their defenses against Ganoderma immediately.
Let me summarize this entire strategy so we have a crystal clear picture for the listener.
Please do.
The research tells us that silica is an absolute game changer. It polymerizes inside the root cells, building a microscopic glass-like wall that prevents the deadly basal stem rot fungus from melting its way into the tree.
It creates a physical shield that cuts disease incidence by over half.
And we completely bypass the expensive agricultural supplies store by manufacturing this ourselves.
Using what we already have.
We take our empty fruit bunches, chop them to maximize surface area, add a biodecomposer, and just wait 4 weeks.
Which unlocks the trapped silica, converting it into a highly soluble compost.
We apply just a few kilograms of that compost to the base of each tree annually. Because it heals and expands the root system, those roots become incredibly efficient at absorbing nutrients.
Super absorbers.
Right. And that allows us to confidently cut our expensive chemical NPK application by 25% while actually increasing our fruit yield.
And, critically, we protect that entire investment by keeping a low grass cover on the soil, ensuring the heavy rains never wash our natural armor away.
When you lay out the mechanics of it step by step like that, it completely changes how you view the daily operations of an oil palm farm.
It forces you to reevaluate the resources right in front of you.
It really does.
I mean, if the massive, annoying piles of empty fruit bunches, the so-called trash of the industry, actually hold the biological key to protecting your entire farm and slashing your chemical fertilizer budget,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder.
Wonder what?
What other native weeds, discarded biomass, or so-called nuisances on your land are actually incredibly valuable resources just waiting for us to understand the science behind them?
That is a brilliant question to carry with you on your next farm walk. Start looking at your waste as hidden wealth. Remember to visit our AI farming assistant at cropdrive.ai to learn more on how to increase your oil palm yields and incomes. Thanks for listening.